So it's time for Q&A 109. That kind of rhymed, didn't it? Now let's go to our first question from RGP Rich Porter. Actually, it consists of 3 questions here. What do you do to stop yourself from sleeping when Raw is on? Well, my personal advice to you would be don't watch it and just go to bed instead of watching Raw. That's what I do.
Monster freaking energy.
As well as an enthusiasm for wrestling. Is that not correct, NJ?
Oh, yes.
Game over, mate. If you could give John Cena any finisher and top rope move from another wrestler, what would it be? John Cena doing the student style press would be pretty cool.
Flying clothesline.
Flying clothesline, and the top. What about any finisher?
Go to sleep.
Tombstone. Most fans of TV show would stop watching them if it got really shit for a few weeks, whether it be EastEnders, Big Brother, or CSI. But wrestling fans will not only watch the show, but diss or mock anybody that says they are not watching the show. Why? It's an interesting thing. Being a wrestling fan is very interesting. It's like I compare it to being a football fan. With me, like I know a lot of people that have been Peterborough United fans, which is our hometown, and they've not really been doing very well at times, and they've still been supporting them. They've been doing pretty well recently. Now they're back in not doing very well. It's like being a sports fan. You still get behind your team. It's like the wrestling. You get behind wrestling because it's something you've just grown up with, and it's become a habit to watch.
That's the thing, because when you've been with something for so long, depending if it's a TV show, person, object, whatever, you get used to it. You try and support it because it's been with you for so long. So it comes a part of you in a way.
And as for dissing or mocking anyone that says they're not watching the show, it doesn't really matter. If you want to watch it, you know, like me, I chose to not watch Raw anymore. You know, that's fine. You don't have to watch the show, whereas NJ, of course, wanted to watch the show. You can shoot me all you want, NJ, but Raw review is yours, brother. But yeah, it's interesting. It's also interesting to note as well that wrestling fans that mock and, you know, diss the shows and stuff, well, they do it because they're passionate and they want the best out of the business, and we're currently in a time where we're not really getting that right now. Thunder Night 19. Would Daniel Bryan have to cut his hair and trim his beard to be taken seriously as a main eventer? Yes! Because, okay, I'll say this. I saw a homeless person on an episode of Men at Work, and it reminded me of Daniel Bryan. Now, I don't want to have Daniel Bryan and be reminded of a homeless person, because that's not the kind of image that is going to draw, in my opinion. So I think he does need to be a bit more clean cut. He does need to get rid of the beard. He does need a haircut if he's going to be some kind of main event star. I really do. I think the look is part of, you know, the drawing power, I think.
I think if the WWE went further with the goat face thing, made it so that frustrated Daniel Bryan and made that a reason for him to have all that look about him or want to remove that look about him, then it could have worked, but now it's just there for a body feature.
And it'd be interesting to see if they do push Daniel Bryan, how the ratings will go and everything like that. That'll be interesting. Howard the Man. Who would win a beard off between CM Punk in 2010 or Daniel Bryan now? Oh, definitely Daniel Bryan now. He's just. How long has he been growing that? You know, one of the Bella twins must be really pissed off that you can't just cut that damn beard. Imagine kissing Daniel Bryan. How hairy that would be.
No thanks. He's going to look like someone from the Addams Family. You know, the big hair thing that just goes round.
Gandalf, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Would you be interested if WWE went into 4 hours? No! Move on.
4 hours.
Renegade 83. Do you think Sting's Joker gimmick would have worked in WCW?
Yes.
Was Joker around then? I mean, they kind of did it in a film, and they were trying to sort of parody the Joker gimmick from the film. Maybe, I don't know. I think the Crow Sting really suited the goth movement at the time, so I think maybe it wouldn't have worked back then. I mean, it worked a bit better now with the film and the popularity of the Joker character, especially with Heath Ledger's death and everything like that.
I think with the Crow, it definitely stood out as something for Sting, but if it did bring in the Joker by the end, I think it would have moved Sting from one base to another, but it was Crow that stole it.
If Sting were to have his very last match in TNA, possibly Bound for Glory this year, which opponent do you think Sting should face against?
Can't be the champion.
Definitely can't be the champion, so it's not going to be Bully Ray again, thank God. It should be someone who is going to be a future star for the company, like maybe a Magnus or something like that. I know they can't do it now, they're part of Main Event Mafia, but if he was to face off with someone, I'd like to give him a big rub to a future star, I really would.
It's hard for me to say, but if I had to pick one, it would probably get given to someone like Magnus, or if the TNA wanted to give one last main event match, I think it would be given to maybe Bully Ray not being the champion.
You know what TNA would do? They'd throw some against Hulk Hogan.
I'm trying to avoid saying that.
Well, I said it for you. Do you see AJ Styles as the modern day Sting of WCW? I mean, the loner gimmick, it's very similar to the Crow gimmick. I'd say yes. Not as good, not as popular, but still some kind of version of it, pretty much. You're even wearing a kind of similar hoodie to AJ Styles. Put that hoodie up and you'll kind of look like him. Right. RFV089. To Mr. Parkin, what are your thoughts on Man United winning the Premier League, Wigan winning the FA Cup, and Bayern Munich winning the Champions League? Well, Man United winning the Premier League, as a United fan, I'm very happy with that. Wigan winning the FA Cup was really good because they, everyone likes an underdog, and Aston Munich winning the Champions League. I believe they were the best team in the Champions League that year, so they kind of deserve to win it. To AJ Styles, NJ, which of these sequels are you looking forward to most? Indiana Jones 5, Star Wars Episode 7, Men in Black 4, Fast and Furious 7, Dumb and Dumber 2, or Mission Impossible 5? Are any of them even real sequels?
Some of them are, yes. But if I had to go with Mission Impossible 5, I think Tom Cruise, unless they get someone new to do it, or Dumb and Dumber, they've done a kind of a remake of that, but I'll say one of those two.
Since 2010, I feel that Randy Orton has gone in a downward trend. A few years ago, he was viewed as a number 2 guy in WWE. My question is, do you still see he as the number 2 guy, or do you think that WWE finds more important than him? The problem with Orton right now is that he's on 2 wellness policies, and if he breaks that one more time, they're going to have to fire him. So that limits how much they can push him, which is why he's been putting over guys like CM Punk over lately and Daniel Bryan lately, etc. He's not a number 2 guy in the company because of his wellness policies. It's pure and simple.
What you got to understand here, guys, is that we have John Cena who's at the top of the table, probably Sheamus as second, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk there, but Orton sadly slipping down. But at the same time, I'm not going to say sadly, because we need a main eventer to put over talent who need to be up there.
And that is one good thing about his move down the card. He can now put over mid-carders and main eventers, or potential main eventers, maybe like a Daniel Bryan, etc. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it has its positives and negatives because it means that WWE are limited on how much they can push him. Who is the best seller in wrestling today? For me, it is easily, even though there are a lot of good ones, Kazarian, in my opinion, ruled everyone in 2012-13. I mean, you can say Kazarian, others may say Dolph Ziggler, others may say CM Punk. He's very good at selling injuries and stuff like that. Any others you can think of off the top of your head?
Again, it's always been Ziggler to me. Ever since I've seen him in various matches, the way he gets RKO'd and stuff, it's definitely going to get given to Ziggler.
I think my problem with Ziggler is I think he oversells. I think he does a good job to make the other people look good, but I think there are times when he really does oversell, and because of that, he can never really look legit. If he sold a little bit less, I know it sounds a little bit weird to the internet community, but if he sold a little bit less, he might look a bit more legit of a main eventer. Right now, I just think he looks like a mid-carder. Scott Wilde. To please everybody, why don't WWE do 2 big shows a week? Raw can start at 9 and be rated TV-14 so it can appeal to adults with grown-up serious storylines, and SmackDown can start earlier like 7 p.m. and be what it is now for the younger audience. That way both types of fans get what they want and nobody is left out. It is not a bad idea, it just means that you'll be reviewing the better show and I'd be reviewing a kid's show, really, wouldn't it? But it's not a bad idea trying to appeal to different... But I think the thing is with businesses is they generally want to focus on one big core competency, and this core competency right now is children and families, unfortunately.
I'm going to agree with you with one big point there. SmackDown does need to be at a higher level, so because having one high than the other, you're probably making a loss of money with SmackDown being down here while Raw's being up here. So I think bringing SmackDown up higher would bring in the importance of SmackDown, your money there. I don't think splitting kids show, adult show is going to be the best income.
It'd be just easier to mix it up a bit of adult and a bit of kid on each show. That'll be the best way to do it, really, without separating it out totally. Because you get loads of people that just don't watch SmackDown, loads of people that just don't watch Raw. Give as many reasons as you can to people to watch both shows.
For example, in the past, we all knew that the Attitude Era was all hardcore, but you had like Rikishi, Too Cool, and they brought the entertainment for the kids.
Val Venus, Road Dogg, the D-Generation X. You have so many things. Ambrose Freak 95 has asked us quite a lot of questions, so let's answer them. Hulk Hogan could only ever do a big boot at leg drop as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time because he could work crowds. Stars after this era like Austin Rock, HBK, Taker, Hart, Triple H, and Mankind have a lot more to their repertoire. Is it because working crowds is not as easy anymore due to the secrets of the business being exposed? You could be right there. Back when Hogan was in his prime, people didn't really know that wrestling was fake per se, and crowds just seemed more into it because of that, and it was a lot easier to satisfy crowds. that might be something. I just think personally, Hogan had a big mainstream appeal, and so did Austin when he was a main eventer, which is why it was just easy for him to work crowds.
The mainstream would be one, but I think the way I've always seen Hogan is that Hogan, every movie had represented him. Like when he did a leg drop, you think of Hogan. You do the hand movement, the you and all that. So everything Hogan did represented him. So I think that's the only reason why Hogan had limited moves, because everything he had represented him.
He didn't need to do like technical moves. I mean, a working crowd was the most important thing to do at the time. That was just how it was at the time. Should WWE have wrestling seasons beginning at SummerSlam and ending at Mania to A, lighten the workload and improve the superstars' safety, B, give the writing team a break, and C, make the product more interesting, as watching it for the first time in 4 or so months will help fans appreciate the product more? I couldn't agree more. I mean, I know WWE is a week-to-week thing, and that is how the business has become, but to have a season, I mean, it wouldn't be, I mean, it would mean that we'd have to do less videos, but I mean, it would lighten the workload, and it would give the wrestlers a bit of a break, which they need. It would give the writing team a break, which, let's face it, a week-to-week job like that is going to be really tough on the mind, and it would make the product more interesting, as we'd miss it a little bit, because if in that 4-month break, we'll end up missing it, won't we? So I think that would move. It's not going to happen, but it's not a bad idea.
I'm more against it because the WWE are famous for giving us the thing that stands out over them over football, so like that, is that they can go day after day, week after week, doing what they do to entertain us. It's the wrestlers who choose to put themselves into this, so I think the way they're doing it is just making WWE what it is.
Yeah, I mean, what is it, over 1,000 weekly episodic TV shows? They're pretty much the only people to do that. So does the fact that WWE and TNA is on TV literally every week make it less entertaining as opposed to sports like the Premier League and NBA, which have mid-season breaks? I mean, we've kind of already talked about that, but I mean, oversaturation of the product is a big thing. I mean, with WWE, you have Raw, Main Event, Superstars, NXT, SmackDown, pay-per-views. There is a massive overexposure. I think the problem is more to do with overexposure on TV rather than what you're talking about there with the mid-season break. That's my issue.
Sadly, I think Vince McMahon's used his brain a bit too much, thinking if we had a shirt offered this, a shirt offers this, I think he should have just kept the show that the fans recognise and tune into, Raw and SmackDown.
It's all about ad revenue. That's why they went for the extra 3 hours and they're not going back to 2. It's ad revenue. They got a lot of money from ad revenue. Think about it. If 4 or 5 million people watch your show, that's brilliant ad revenue, unfortunately. Will Triple H be referred to as Paul Levesque when he takes over WWE? No, because he's more well known as Triple H, so he'll be known as Triple H.
It's like Vince McMahon, when he went from commentary to the boss, he stayed and stuck the same name. Other names we can give if some came to my mind. But I think Triple H being Triple H, even though he's Paul Levesque really, and you have Stephanie referring him as Paul, he's going to be Triple H to the WWE.
Howard Starr asked us 2 questions. Why couldn't Randy Orton beat Hulk Hogan at SummerSlam 2006? It was Hogan's final time in the WWE. I think the main reason for that is because Hogan, probably backstage politics. That's probably the main reason why he never did.
The thing is, the Legend Killer, near this time, I think Hogan was someone that Orton needed to beat, because it was a big name for Orton to face and beat. But with Hogan, as we've seen in previous matches, he just doesn't seem to like doing it.
Yeah, and I think at the time, he was really annoyed about being 2nd or 3rd on the card because he was getting the biggest reactions of the night. And if you're getting the biggest reactions of the night, you want to be in the main event. But unfortunately, he was just quite old and really didn't belong in the main event at the time. What's the whole point of the stupid Divas belt anymore? Get rid of it and bring back the Women's Championship belt. It won't make a difference. Just because you bring back the Women's Championship, it doesn't make it legitimate again. It really doesn't.
The thing that's going to make that belt mean to me again is bringing back Lita. Some ones that made that belt mean something that's going to make the division important again.
Ambrose Freak 95. I missed one of your questions. We'll answer it now. Bernadette from Big Bang Theory or Rose from 2.5 Men. I've always been a Bernadette guy. I love the nerdy aspect of Bernadette, so I definitely go for Bernadette. I don't like Stalker Rose, unfortunately. No.
Rose. I think I go Rose.
Yeah. Why? I'm curious.
She's got the way she, can get her hands behind Charlie Sheen and the things she does throughout the seasons. It's good-minded.
RPG Rich Porter, who asked us some questions at the beginning of this Q&A, has asked us some more. Is John Cena more valuable than Triple H to Vince McMahon at the moment? Well, in the sense that Triple H is an investment, in the sense that he's going to take over, possibly. I believe Triple H is more valuable to Vince McMahon, especially as his family. But John Cena is his biggest money maker. So they're both valuable in different ways, and it's hard to put values to compare them both.
As much as I would support the game because he's my favourite wrestler, he's that damn good. I think it all comes down to John Cena. Like, if John Cena was to get injured, if John Cena was to get fired, if John Cena was to move to TNA, if something was to happen to him, WWE is screwed.
Yeah.
Even though Triple H would still take over, it'd still be Triple H's effort to try and find someone to replace the guy they've just lost.
I mean, you can always make a new star, but if John Cena did go, then I must admit I am slightly agreeing with you here. I'm more on your side. It would be more detrimental to WWE than if Triple H left, I think, because he could always just give it to Stephanie. Or maybe even Shane if he came back. Should TNA have made a Knockouts and X Division TV show when Spike gave them the extra hour? They gave us reaction, LOL. I think the X Division show we're going to be getting is on the Destination X Impact show where the Option C is going to be done. So they are doing that. As for a Knockout show, no, don't really have enough.
They've done a mini pay-per-view of it now, so they're offering this whole thing be a pay-per-view with that extra to replace the reaction thing we got. Maybe it'd have been an idea, but I think what they did was good enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think the X Division show is fine, and I don't really think you need to do many special shows, otherwise they won't feel special. No. Silly Bone 22, what a name. Who had the best WCW title reign of all time? You probably have to go for someone like Ric Flair. Who are you doing there?
I'm about to say Sting. But...
You're about to say Sting. You could say Hogan, you could say Goldberg, but I think by history, I think Flair, personally, had a good title run. He had 16 of them, so it must have been good. Do you think Fandango has what it takes to be a WWE champion in the future? He's lost a lot of momentum. Since that concussion, he's lost a lot of momentum. So I'm really doubting whether he can be a WWE champion or maybe even a whatever champion. He could just be one of those guys that is a player in the mid-card. It's just an entertaining dancing character like Rikishi or the Too Cool. I don't know. I mean, you never know.
To be honest, the W are probably getting up repackaging him because we cannot think of many musical guys who have made it to the main event and became WWE champion.
Maybe Honky Tonk Man, but he never become WWE champion or WWF champion. Do you think The Rock will be at WrestleMania 30? If so, who would you want him to feud with? The Rock. Probably make a Rock Brock Lesnar match or something like that. Like make it like a big that would be a big drawing match.
I think I felt more of a WrestleMania product from SummerSlam because there's no other guy who I think apart from maybe. I don't think they could build up in time Curtis Axel. I
personally think the only two people that could legitimately face Rock were Cena and Punk. I think they're the only two that could legitimately face Rock, apart from Brock Lesnar, who's not on the full-time roster, which is why I said Brock Lesnar. Mega Roy Green. When the Shield breaks up, what about giving Dean Ambrose a Raven-type gimmick? I think, to be honest, I think Dean Ambrose is just better off being himself. I mean, the way he is right now, the character's pretty good. Why not just run with that rather than go with a Raven-type gimmick?
Eventually, I think when they split up, they can't all still be in the Shield uniform because they're not together. So one of them would maybe change attire. But I think Ambrose being the leader maybe should keep to that kind of gimmick.
US Hardy or Us Hardy, who knows? If you were signed by TNA to book Eric Young winning the TNA Championship, how would you book it? We wouldn't. Very easy. Just wouldn't book it.
No.
Anyway, that's been another Q&A from us, the British Fist. If you want, that was a great way to end, wasn't it? A really somber note to end this Q&A. If you want to send us some questions for the Q&A, you can either comment down below like the lazy people do. Send us a question via inbox, which is preferable. Go check out our Facebook or Twitter us as well using the hashtag British Fist QA. So those are the 4 ways you can get in contact with us. That'll be links in the description box below. That's been me, Mr. Parkin. This guy sitting next to me. Game over, NJ.
What's up?
And thank you very much for watching this Q&A. And goodbye.